They'd Taken Strays, written by XR171. It was at the celebration of my life, a birthday, as the humans call it. I was approximately 130 in Earth years. It was also a Discovery Day. Both records prior to Discovery were unheard of amongst the Volnath, our race's original name being lost to history. Many of us that were alive at Discovery chose that date when we learned about our birthdays. Again, prior to Discovery, long life was something we never thought possible and would not have wished it upon ourselves. Though slaves is the literal translation of Volnath, and we were. From emergence to death, we toiled for the Kreth. This was all we knew until we suddenly learned more.
Great-grandfather, can you tell us a story?
Asked Addison, excitedly. Her siblings and cousins gathered around. I placed a log on our fireplace.
Young ones, don't bother your great-grandfather too much,
my daughter Yorick sedated. They're fine, I reassured her. It's Discovery Day. How about I tell you the story of why we serve the humans?
My teacher says that we serve no one anymore,
stated Citrus, Allison's cousin. That is technically true. Humanity has never asked us for anything. Yet in my heart we serve them. We owe them a debt that can never be repaid. I was but a child when they found us, not much more than you, William. We were on a Kreth cruiser. A number of our lot mates became sick. It spread fast. The Kreth simply dumped us in the first uninhabitable world they found. They left us with nothing. We later learned they placed 2 quarantine markers in orbit.
What are quarantine?
Allison asked. A quarantine is an order to stay away. The Kreth was afraid of losing more lots of us. They left us to die, so we couldn't spread whatever we had. Once on the planet, we were honestly lost. We didn't know what to do at first without overseers to awaken us, tell us when to eat, when to sleep, or even when we could relieve ourselves. We tried to separate the sick from the healthy, but how do you separate a pouchling from their mother when only one of them is healthy? I was separated from my mother after she fell ill. A mother who had lost her child began to take care of me. Her most fit managed to find a source of water. A few brave ones had managed to find a few plants that were edible. Our numbers were shrinking, though. I never saw my mother again. Yadira, who took me in, was nice to me. It was later I learned I was only thing that kept her sane. We had resigned ourselves to being simply another abandoned lot when we saw the shuttles descending.
Humans or Terrans?
Asked Rhonda, my granddaughter.
Terrans are scary, exclaimed Citrus. I heard they can breathe fire when angry.
And they're always angry, Yadira, my son's granddaughter, chimed in. They were Terrans at first. They took pity on us and quickly became human. Yadira and I had a spot near the edge of our camp, though camp was a generous term. Volnath were only for the worst of tasks. Tanath were the least trained in different skills. The shuttles landed, and we had assumed the Kreth had returned. During this time, we could only read a few Kreth words. We didn't know any languages existed. We recognized the environmental suits, but their shapes were alien to us. Yadira took me to approach them. Another man, Lida, approached with us. They placed their palms up, and facing them, then went to their knees. Then I heard them speak. Hello, I am Commander John Robinson of the Terran Republic Warship Scimitar. We seek to meet new races. None of us understood this person. We thought they were speaking a higher language. Lida responded,
We are Lot 4077. We are eager to return to work, he stated.
John, the Terran responded, tapping his chest. This is Linda. Her job is to learn new languages. Please keep speaking. It was then I noticed the two standing back. I recognized the warrior caste anywhere. They stood back like overseers, with their weapons down, but ready.
I'm sorry, we do not understand your higher tongue. We're just the Vornath, Yadira stated.
Vornath, Linda stated, pointing at us. Linda and Yadira could only look down as our status was confirmed. Yes, we are Vornath and ready to return to work. We're sick, but they can be left, Lida replied. Marines, stand down, John ordered. He pointed towards his group. Humans, John, he said, pointing at himself. Linda, he pointed at her. Jibril, he pointed at another person. I can't remember the names of the two, but I later learned were Marines. You should ask your teachers, though. I remember the confused look on Yadira's face. Creth gave us numbers that they perma-inked onto our flesh after emergence. Names we spoke amongst ourselves and quietly. Yadira, she stated. I could hear the fear in her voice. In that moment, I knew if they were going to strike her down, I would not let her go alone. I stepped forward. Gelor, I stated, staring them in the eyes and tapping my chest like I saw them. Yadira was fast to grab me and place me behind her. I was full of courage, though, and probably stupidity, since I crawled under Yadira and said it again. Gelor! The humans chuckled. Then I heard Linda talk. Reminds me of Billy when he was young. She looked at Yadira and smiled. I learned it was cold. I recognized that annoyed mom look anyway. She then looked at me and pointed. Gelor. She then pointed at herself. Linda. Instead of going back to their shuttles, they stayed with us to learn more. One of the Marines even tied a bowed cloth to their shuttle's hull and winged and slept in it. The humans amazed us by taking off their environmental suits. Without them, they were of equal height to us, hairier on the heads and with faces that could express so much. Linda managed to show pictures of her child to Yadira along with videos. They gave me some of their food, and at that point, it was the tastiest thing I'd ever had. They amazed us by starting a small fire. I felt truly warm, huddled with Yadira next to it. We struggled on for the rest of the day, the next day, and the day after. I could only think there was blind, cruel luck that helped us break through. We were walking with the Terrans through our camp, learning more of each other's languages, when someone collapsed in front of them. John and Linda didn't hesitate. We were terrified of them getting infected, leaving us, or worse, getting us in anger. A couple of us tried to take them away and carry them off, but Linda stopped us. Jibril, take a look. They feel a lot warmer than the others, she ordered. Jibril, a man with darker skin, came up and used a small scanning device. He held it close to him for a few minutes, then pointed at Lyda and Yadira and myself. This person's temperature is 6 degrees higher than theirs. I can only assume it's a fever. If I can do more detailed exam, a few healthy people and him, I can compare them better, he answered. Exo to scimitar. We've been possibly exposed to an infection of some sort. Commander Dukwa is going to investigate. I'd like to send a medical team down under infection protocol when possible. We might be able to help them, John explained, into a small communication device he grabbed from his belt. Have HM1 transmit all these findings to us when possible. I'll have Doc Kim take a look and make the final call. Until then, keep an eye on yourselves. Scimitar actual out, a voice replied from his communicator. Linda and Jibril tried to explain what they wanted from us. Jibril demonstrated using some tools on John while Linda tried explaining. As best as I could tell, they wanted to examine us. We were used to it, with the overseers examining us every so often or so to determine what kind of work we were suited for. No, just wasn't a word in our vocabulary, so we agreed. We had assumed that it would hurt when Jibril struck us with a needle that took blood samples from us and a couple of sick ones. Surprisingly, it didn't. He made every effort to be gentle. I noticed he started wearing a mask around us and the others were keeping a slight distance. We knew that they would be leaving any time now. Another shuttle landed. No one came out, but the humans unloaded a few things and Jibril loaded the blood that he took from us and his companions. Then the shuttle left. The humans remained. A few of the crates they unloaded contained food. Food that they shared. They insisted on us sick getting first portions. The young took the next portions, followed by the old, then the rest. I was saddened when there was none left for what I was hoping would be our new and first friends. I offered my last few bites to Linda. She managed to tell me she wasn't hungry. I couldn't understand. We were always hungry. The next day, 2 large shuttles landed. The first person to walk out was a woman. She wore a uniform similar to John. He walked up to her and raised his hand to his brow. Captain, I didn't expect to see you here, he said. I need to talk to them directly. I've been in contact with the State Department and we're willing to open relations with them. Who is the leader? She asked. Captain, with respect, this is an active infectious situation, John said. I didn't truly understand most of their words, but I suspected that they would become our new masters. I wouldn't mind that, since they had shown us more kindness than any of us had ever seen. Not for long. They have a simple bacterial infection. They've given us an antibiotic booster plus. We have a dose for you. Based on the samples, it should do wonders for them. We need to disperse this to everyone, stated another man. I later learned he was a doctor.
We've added it into the ration packs. May not do much for the taste, but it should give them the nutrients they all need as well." Lyda and Yadira walked up to them with me in tow. "Hello, Captain Melissa Scogans. I'm in command of the ship and discovered your group. Do you speak for your group?" she asked. "I do not fully understand what you mean. Normally an overseer speaks for us," Lyda answered. "I understand you were slaves. I want to be clear as possible. My people consider slavery to be one of the worst things in life. We truly hate slavery. I'm here to offer you a place within our borders." "Yes, we will serve you as our new masters. You are already far better than the Creth," Yadira chimed in. Captain Scoggins rubbed the brow of her nose, and Commander Robinson walked over to her. "This would be a lot easier with a diplomatic vessel," he said. "The Kind Word and its escorts are 3 weeks away. The hospital ship is en route, but is still a week away. The General Assembly is ready to offer them asylum and temporarily house them on Luna. I just need to make sure they're okay with it, or if they'd rather stay here and receive aid," she explained. "Ma'am, if you'd please, I might be able to explain this to them. I'm making progress with their language, but they're learning ours quickly too," Linda said, walking up to me. "Please do, Chief. Also try to explain that this food should help them feel better," their captain said. "Aye, ma'am," Linda replied, and walked over to us. In a mixture of her language and ours, she managed to explain what we did as our decision. We could stay here, and they could give us food and supplies, but they could not promise that the Creth wouldn't come back. We were also welcome to go with them. A ship was on the way to take our sick and hurt. Between that and her ship, that was room for us all. They would take us into their homeland, and we would never serve against our will again. It took almost a day for us to begin to understand this. We were cautious, but agreed to go with them. Even if we worked for the humans, it would be better than the Creth. We ate the food they provided gratefully. By the next day, I felt odd, but not bad. People that were sick were getting better. The humans were working with the small groups of us. They taught us how to start and control fires, helped us dig what they called heads. I laughed at hearing that. At night, around fires, different people told different stories from their cultures. John told us about people that lived in the frontier of his home, people with names like Daniel Boone, James Harrod, and Lewis and Clark. They lived off the land and survived. He grew up with his dad and grandfather teaching him the same skills. I imagined myself living off the land on Luna. I could create a new fire every night and forage for food and water.
"But Luna doesn't have any air,"
Galarod, my great-grandson, stated. "Yes, but I didn't know that at the time. All I had known was the craft ship and the world we were left on," I answered. By the time we left, and we were excited but worried. As the humans say, we were waiting for the other shoe to drop. They brought down many shuttles. Those that were still sick or wounded went first. Only humans would create a ship that sole purpose is to be a hospital. Yadira and I went to Scimitar. They housed most of us in their cargo bay, while the rest went on to the hangar. I don't know how they parked their shuttles so close together without crashing them. The ones I could reach, I couldn't even stick my fingers between them. Life seemed better. I remember the lights dimming and everything seeming to lurch forward and backwards when we made a jump to FTL. I was lucky that since Yadira was suddenly a leader amongst us, I got to go with her. I think she was afraid of losing another child. I know I was afraid of losing her. There were a lot of meetings with the captain. On their screen was their Secretary of State. He assured us the next few months might be rough, but the years would be better. This was when humanity finally asked something of us. We'd expected them to ask us for labor. We volunteered on the ship as much as we could. Instead, they asked us for information. They wanted to know about us, the Creth, and anything else we wanted to talk about. We spent a lot of time with Linda. We couldn't tell them much about the Creth except that they had owned us for years without number. We didn't know the original name we called ourselves, technical details of the ships, or much else. Just that we worked until they allowed us some sleep. We ate when they said we could, and the overseers were always ready to punish us. Once we figured out their years, they were able to determine that the oldest of us were no more than 42 of their years. Those few others were ancient to us all. We were talking to Linda one day. I was telling her about my earliest memories, reaching out from my mom's pouch and holding a bottle she used to clean surfaces. I made a game of trying to guess when she'd need it and hold it out for her. Suddenly this loud noise went off, not just in the room that we were in, but everywhere. I heard the captain's voice announce, "All hands, general quarters, man battle stations. Unknown vessel approaching at high speed. CBDR." "Let's get you back to the hangar," Linda said, standing up. But a communicator went off. LAC, Feck Yea, she announced. Chief, Captain, bring Yadira to the bridge, please. I want to see if she recognizes the ship. With that, we went to the bridge with Linda. It was my first time on Terran Bridge. They still amaze me to this day. There were stations all round. The captain had her own chair on the raised platform in the center of it all. Weapons ready, countermeasures ready. Fire control has a solution, ma'am, one person announced. Very well, she replied. Communications, any luck? Not yet, ma'am. The hull markings are a language. It appears similar to the Krath words we've read on the guests, but it's too small a sample, she replied.
That's a Krath ship. They want us back,
Yadira stated. That's not going to happen, Captain Scoggins stated firmly, and I believed her. Chief, you ready to speak for us? Yes, ma'am. Good. Hailing frequencies. Patch into Galen. I could hear them talking. Their voices frightened me. Return our property or die, I heard the Krath order. Tell them they were found abandoned. By our laws, they belong to no one, the captain stated. Linda relayed the message. I felt Yadira hold me tight. Irrelevant. Return our lot or we open fire, the Krath replied. The captain moved her hand parallel to her throat, and a second later, the comm system chimed. Tactical analysis, she ordered. Hard to say, Captain. If this is their maximum speed, we can outrun them, but barely. Our weapons seem to be equal, but I can't promise that, another person answered. Just the Galen, please, Captain Scoggins said, another chime. Keith, you listening in? Yep. Wish we could help, but only thing we're packing is needles and rubbing alcohol, he answered. The bridge crew shared a chuckle. I was in awe of them. A Krath ship was chasing them down, and they could still find joy. In that moment, I realized I wanted joy, too. Not just for myself, but for all of us. Maybe you can. Your ship is faster. Increase your speed to maximum and get a tight beam on the 5th Fleet. See if they can have a welcome party for us when we cross the border. Should be a few cruises available. We're on it. Don't do something stupid like getting yourself killed slipping in the shower, he replied. I heard someone announce his ship had sped up. Back to the Krath, please, another chime. Chief, translate, please. This is the Terran Republic warship Scimitar. You are unknown to us, but know this. We conquered Tyrell and dismantled the Great Imperium. Slavery is abhorrent to us. Turn around now, and we'll be on our way. Maintain your pursuit, and you'll guarantee our wrath no matter what happens.
Then what happened next?
Ellison asked. Well, I'm still here, aren't I answered, making the kids laugh. I remember being there and thinking I'd get out and find them myself if I had to. It was a powerful feeling. They responded by firing a missile at us. This was my first time really seeing Terrans in action. I saw the missile on the view screen coming right at us. As brave as I was a minute ago, now I was terrified. Then I heard a loud buzzing sound. I saw what I later learned were bullets heading towards the missile. They hit it and it exploded. Later, I learned Terran ships are designed to shoot down enemy weapons, and even if hit, they can withstand a lot of damage. Terrans naturally focus on taking a punch. Increase speeds to maximum, Captain Scoggins ordered. Maneuvering, Con, give me all the speed you can. Get creative if you have to. Con, maneuvering, aye, they replied. Then I heard on one of their speakers. Rig ship for reduced power. Artificial gravity will be at partial power in 5 minutes. Chief, you better get them back to the hangar. Explain everything and double-check the stove for space, she ordered. Linda took us back and explained as best as she could that we were going to be lighter in weight. I didn't really understand at the moment. Yadira helped explain as best she could to everyone else in the hangar, while Linda went to cargo bay. I was laying in my cot when I felt the ship lurch forward, and then I felt it in my stomachs. It was almost like falling. A lot of us threw up. Some of us thought that it was some kind of Terran torture, but most of us still trusted them. What I didn't know then, but learned later, is that we ran for a few more days when the Krath were very slowly losing ground to us. The hospital ship Galen had already crossed into Terran space and told them what was happening. By the time we approached the border, 6 Terran battlecruisers were waiting for us. We ran straight past them. I felt myself get slightly heavier as gravity returned to normal. Gravity is something I've always appreciated since then.
What happened to the Krath?
Asked Linda, my granddaughter, having the seat next to Citrus. She'd heard the story countless times, but I felt pride at her sitting to hear it again, especially with her daughter. They stopped in their tracks. They had railguns, missiles, and more locked on them. Terran warships are powerful alone, but they meant to work together. We learned later that they were hoping to force a surrender and hopefully free more slaves. I read accounts of the Marines on those ships. They were literally itching to board a new type of ship. But the Krath was smart. They turned around and left as fast as they could. We continued on. We arrived at Luna a couple days after the Galen. Imagine my surprise at living in such a barren place. We had no fires, no streams, no hostile natives. We were happy. Instead of living in a massive bay of beds separated by curtains, we were given homes. Yadira and I had a place with a single bedroom. Linda showed us around and explained everything. We didn't know food could be cooked. On the Krath ship, we were given buckets of feed to share. Humans, though, have an entire art devoted to food with countless methods. Frying is still my favorite.
Mine too. I love Feck Yea,
exclaimed Nige, my youngest great-grandchild, son of Arid. I leaned towards him. Mine too. I could eat fried broccoli every day, I replied. We had access to the internet. It was overwhelming at first, the sum total of humans' knowledge and experiences. We slowly realized just how badly the Krath had treated us, and we began to understand how the mention of slavery can turn the most peaceful human into a bloodthirsty Terran. It was much later when we began to see just what bloodthirst was. After the scimitar had to leave, that we began to realize just how much of our life had changed. Linda was able to stay with us. She was there whenever representatives from the General Assembly wanted to talk to us. They asked a lot of questions and answered anything we asked.
So, what is going to happen to us, really?
Yadira asked. A short answer is it's up to you. Longer answer is slightly complicated. Your race is allowed into human society, but doesn't have a lot of skills needed to survive. You would be stuck as an underclass, only to be able to do the most menial and simple jobs. You would be able to survive, but if we don't educate your group, then we're no better than the Krath. We plan on starting schools for everyone, but we also need to learn more about you, your culture, and how you tick. Until then, this place is your home. The General Assembly has granted every one of you Terran residency. Eventually, you may pursue citizenship, but that would be a choice that you make as an individual. There were two human traditions at play. One is we hate slavery. Wars have been fought on our old world over it. The other is, to be honest, and not insulting. This is an old expression. We take in strays. You are welcome to stay or find your own path. We feel an obligation to help you make that decision on your own free will, the human delegate said, making a small speech.
I like humans,
I exclaimed. Yadira tried to shush me. The man and Linda both laughed. We like you too, Genor. We want you to feel at home here. Go to school, make friends, and grow up big and strong, he said, smiling. And we did. Us kids went to our own school at first. It was easier for us younger ones. We learned in both Krath and human English. Our adults went to school as well. We discovered that when properly fed, rested, and not worked to death, we grew strong. We could learn a lot. We learned how to form real families. Families that brought more joy than ever. Families like us. Old age was something to be celebrated and not pitied. Later, we were welcomed into great human society. News had spread long before our arrival. We were valued as equals simply for existing instead of being treated as tools that had to be fed. I learned how to cook. I studied under a famous chef. Later, we asked about a world of our own, a home. We were very clear that humans and Terrans would always be welcome. We felt as though we had used enough of their kindness, and it was time to forge our own destiny. That's when we chose this place, this world on the Terran frontier, far away from former Krath space, but close to the unknown. It is here on the frontier that we can stand guard. Should any foe try to harm our dear friends, they will have no choice but to try through a wall of us, a living border. They tried to talk us out of it at first. This world is far larger than Terra. The gravity is stronger. Everything will be difficult. We knew that. We understood those concepts now. At first they offered to deed the system to us, but we rejected that. Our Terran citizenship meant too much to us. And we struggled at first. I'm still saddened by Yadira's death. But I felt hope when you were born a week later, Yadira. You were named in her honor. I got to build fires, grow crops, and purify water. I felt like a child again. Many of us willingly went into the mines to harvest the world's resources. We built a mighty shipyard in orbit. It seems every day we launch a new Terran warship. We're on their crews too. We're in the marine companies aboard them. We're in the army. We fly their fighters, their bombers, and shuttles. We work with them. They work in businesses we own. When the time came, our vote was unanimous. We applied for statehood with the General Assembly. We still called ourselves Vornath, not because we're slaves, but to mock the Creth. Their lower slaves led the charge to free all their slaves. We brought them here, did our best to follow the Terran's examples. We may not be human, but they taught us to be humane. End of story. I'd greatly like to thank our Tier 5 channel members, Caspar Arnholt, John Creighton, Manatharia, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.